Welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted as always to be joined by Owen McKendry. This is a fight preview for Erislandy Lara's WBA World Middleweight title, taking on Michael Zerafa in Las Vegas on the 30th of March. Owen, good to be joined by you. We're previewing fights left, right, and centre here at ESBR, whether it's world level, European level, British level, and beyond. So, good to speak to you again. It's an interesting one. Lara's about to turn 41, hasn't fought for 2 years. Michael Zerafa, he's been around a while as well. 35 fights. So yeah, I'm looking forward to getting your thoughts on this one. Let us know what you're thinking.
I'm glad I've got this video with yourself because obviously I was on the video with yourself where we were ranking middleweight world champions, and who are the best middleweights on the planet, and it's arguably the worst division in boxing at the moment for myself. This fight, the fact it's a world title fight is incredible. Like you say, Zerafa's been around the block for a while now. Erislandy Lara, 5 fights since 2019 is outrageous. Last fight against Spike O'Sullivan, it's I'm almost speechless when I seen it announced. I found it hard to believe. Obviously, that I don't know what Erislandy Lara has over the WBA to allow them to keep his belt, but yeah, it's a tough one because it's an intriguing fight in terms of styles and the two fighters themselves. But like you say, the fact Lara's 40 odd and he's fought 5 times since 2019, it's incredible. He's still defending a world title.
Yeah, for sure. Like I want to give Lara a lot of credit because I think to be world champion at 40 is special and great. But when you've been an active as that, when your last fight was against Spike O'Sullivan, it's hard to give credit. Um, there's lots of things to moan about in boxing, but I think one of the worst things is having a world title when not fighting. I think that's crazy. And I just think you mentioned there the middleweight division arguably being one of the worst divisions in boxing now. It's a shame because it's an iconic classic weight division. So to have these guys in there as world champions and not really fighting is frustrating. I think Jamal Charlo's it's even worse. He's not defended his WBC world title in nearly 3 years, albeit has had some personal issues, but it's not good enough. Yeah, it's really just not good enough. We expect better. However, Lara and Zerafa are in action on the 30th of March. Zerafa, just when I was doing a bit of research for this video, noticed he is still only 31 despite having 35 fights, which is impressive. He must have obviously turned pro quite young. So there's a big around 9-10 year age gap between the two of them. Who do you think is the favorite here? Owen, I think Zerafa, he hasn't kind of fought kind of a name for a couple of years now. We kind of had that loss against Jeff Horn back in 2019. That was his last loss. Who do you think's the favorite going into this one?
I would still. It's hard because Zerafa himself hasn't. He's not exactly been fighting 5 times a year himself, but so he has been a bit more active. But I just feel like when he stepped up, obviously he had that controversial loss against Jeff Horn, majority decision. He got beat by Cal Brook. I feel like Lara is his ability is deserving of a world champion. So I think Lara will be the favourite based on ability. But from a punter's perspective, you'd have to be looking at Zerafa as being. I haven't looked at the odds yet myself, but whatever odds he is going to be a good price. I think ring rust, although some fighters will say it doesn't exist, others believe in it. I think ring rust is being taken to another extreme with Erislandy Lara, but I would still, based on ability and what I've seen in the ring, I would still edge Lara as the favourite.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? I just I think it's hard to tell when someone is that sort of age and they are at the ring for a period what they've got left and what a nearly 41-year-old version of Sandy Lara is going to look like. So it's really tricky. We'll do quick predictions. Oh, and I've got one more question to throw at you after that. Who who are you leaning towards for this fight? I think it's a tricky one due to the inactivity,
Yeah.
due to kind of the amount of the losses on Zerafa's records.
Mhm.
It is a tricky one to predict, I think, but here we are. Who are you going for?
I think I would edge it for Lara personally. I think potentially harsh or controversial comments that have been made. I think they're not made in necessarily spite, but they're made because we want to see world champions fighting. We want to see him active. He's defended his belt, so we want to see him defend it more. I think again, I'd edge it from Lara personally based off what I've seen in the ring, especially against sort of higher level opposition. Um, it's a very, very tough one to call. It's not one I'd be running around telling people, get the house on it. There's no way Erislandy Lara loses this. It is one of those where you sort of edge over one side of the fence, and I just think based on what I've seen in the ring, I would edge Erislandy Lara winning on the night.
We shall see. Yeah, it's an interesting one. It's a tricky one. I'm gonna disagree with you. I'm gonna go Silver Zerafa purely because, as I said, I just think we don't know what's left of
Mhm,
Lara, whereas Zerafa is significantly younger, and hasn't been active either, as you said, but he's been more active than Lara, and I just
mhm.
wonder if that could play a part. There are so many factors here as well, though. How do both fighters make the championship weight despite both being inactive? Could have a position where they don't neither of them make weight. You never know. That could be a first in boxing. But we'll see. Looking forward to it, even more so now that we're disagreeing with our predictions. Final one from me, Owen. I was just looking at the WBA rankings. There's actually three British middleweights in the top 15. Chris Eubank Jr., Nathan Heaney, who's obviously the British champion, and Kieran Conway. If you're going for Lara to win this fight, how many of those Brits would beat Lara, do you think? And realistically, any of those guys could face him next. They're all ranked in the top 15. Eubank Jr. is obviously seen as the best British middleweight. There's Hamza Shiraz there as well. But out of those three, Eubank Jr., Nathan Heaney, Kieran Conway, how many of those beat Erislandy Lara, would you say?
I'd back Chris Eubank to beat Lara. I think at this stage of Lara's career, especially like you say, although I've edged him with the prediction, I do think this is a real test of what Lara has left. I think Eubank Jr., God knows what he's doing. Apparently he's now a free agent. He's meant to be fighting a stable mate of the same trainer. So God knows what Eubank Jr.'s up to. But I think, coming into this fight on the back of a good win, I would be backing Eubank. Nathan Heaney is an interesting one because, Denzel Bentley was promised a rematch at world title level if he beat Nathan Heaney for the British title, and he didn't. So that sort of you have to argue that if Nathan Heaney wins, he has to go in for a world title fight. If Frank was promising it to Bentley, then he's got to promise it to Heaney also. I do think whether he's at that level is another question, but I think it would be extremely harsh. I'd give Heaney a good chance against Lara. It's a tough one. I don't think Conway beats him. Kieran Conway in his last fight. I know Amo Williams is a top level fighter, but it was a comfortable sort of 10 round decision victory. So I wouldn't put Conway in with him. I think Lara would edge it, but I'd definitely say Eubank. And then, to be honest, it's a bit of a toss up. I'd probably say on the basis no at the minute with Heaney, but it's for me, it's probably sort of like a 50-50 flip of a coin whether he could get in and do it. I'm just really intrigued to see how he gets on against Brad Pauls. And then that may sway.
We'll see. I mean, obviously, this video will go out after Nathan Heaney versus Brad Pauls, but who knows? Maybe we'll be talking about Brad Pauls against Erislandy Lara. You never know. But we'll see. Look, there's just we'll have to see kind of who wins first and what happens next. But as always, it's exciting to discuss. Owen, good to speak to you. We will see what happens for the WBA World Middleweight title between Erislandy Lara and Michael Zerafa in Las Vegas. Thank you very much for your time.